Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, the editor-in-chief of Total Retail. I'm excited to be joined on this episode by Mike Clem, who is the CEO of Sweetwater, which is the largest music instrument retailer in the United States. Mike was recently named to the CEO role, so we're going to talk to him a little bit about this new position and learn a little bit more about Sweetwater as well. So I want to thank you, Mike, for taking the time to join us on today's episode.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Excited to be here.
So I mentioned that you were named CEO, but you're not a newcomer to Sweetwater. You've been with the company for 20 years. So with that in mind, I'd love for you to tell the audience a little bit about what has made you so loyal to Sweetwater. Why has it been a great fit for you and a great place for you to work throughout your career?
Yeah, so I've been here for 20 years. I'm a lifelong musician, so I was very familiar with Sweetwater from an early age, and I think that's what really drew me to the company. But what's kept me here is there's just an unbelievable focus on over-the-top customer service, because it's just the right thing to do for human beings. And it's just such a refreshing business model and a company with a heart and a moral compass. And I think that's really, really what's kept me here for such a long time.
And I'm familiar, obviously, with Sweetwater. I think that's a common refrain we hear about the company is that so many within the organization have a musical background and then kind of an inclination to work for a company like Sweetwater.
Very much so. Listen, a large company, $1.7 billion, 44-year-old company, but a fantastic culture. We have a reputation for just outstanding customer service. It's a high passion industry, but it's a really interesting business model. So as a customer, you are paired up with what we call a sales engineer, one of 650 experts, men and women recruited like truly from all over the world at this point. And then as a customer, you get that same person over and over. So truly developing relationship, not just an online transactional experience, but really over the phone. And these relationships oftentimes turn into even friendships. But then we're nurturing that relationship. We're reaching back out. We're helping you along a musical journey. So you can just imagine the retention and the loyalty that comes out of that. And again, in a high passion industry, it's just very unique.
So, Mike, you talked about culture a little bit, and that's such an important part of being a leader today is instilling that right corporate culture. That's not something that, as you enter the CEO role, that's lacking at Sweetwater. You talked about kind of the culture that's already been built. But my question for you is, how do you kind of maintain that culture, the corporate culture that's already been the foundation of the business, while continuing to grow upon it?
It's a great question, and the way I would answer is our founder, Chuck Surak, from day one, taught us to take care of every single customer and every single detail one at a time. Do that with passion and precision. And if we do that, then the money will follow. And so this is a company and this is a culture that's never really been driven by gross profits or revenue or led by numbers. And that makes all the difference in the culture. And that's been a true statement for our entire 44-year history. So I would say my goal then is just to preserve that culture for years to come. It's an incredibly durable growth model. And so we're also smart enough to know there's such a thing as growing too quickly. When you're the white glove customer service model, then you run the risk of eroding any one of those customer experiences. And so we're actually very careful and conscientious about how and where we grow. And so my first focus at all times is just protecting that core growth and nurturing these relationships with these existing customers and just obsessing over details. But we're also excited about a lot of growth opportunity on top of that. And we're finding some really interesting growth right now in new markets for us, like content creators, not just musicians, also used gear, band instruments, renting instruments, not just selling, and just kind of expanding our footprint, our distribution footprint out into some other parts of the country.
So just to follow up to that previous question, Mike, in terms of the culture, and I guess at Sweetwater, that extends not just, you talk about kind of treating the customer right way, but that's also internally, right? Like just kind of a people mindset where your employees as well. So it's not just thinking about the customer, it's also treating the employee right. Is that how you kind of think about it?
Very, very much. And so we try very carefully to hire the right people. You have to come in and have sort of a servanthood mindset, like here to serve something, a sort of greater purpose. We have invested tremendously in space. So our campus here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, we have about 2,600 employees. A lot of amenities where we're really investing in culture and treating employees well. We really think it's just a reflection of if you treat the employees well, then they reflect that joy into the phone calls and interactions with our customers. So much so that we actually hang a mirror on each one of our offices and cubicles so that we can see our expression. Like we really train it all the way down into the into the process of being on the phones and seeing our expressions so that we can see how customers are hearing us.
Yeah, and that's that virtuous cycle that you talk about then, so that's great. I'd love to get your perspective as you kind of take the top role and as CEO. What do you believe are the skills and qualities that you possess that will make for an effective leader for Sweetwater? As you think about kind of long term, what about you personally, makes you think that you can succeed in this role?
Sure. So my background is in technology and marketing, going back to 1990s and kind of the pioneering days when there was not very much off-the-shelf software. And so back in those days, we built all of our own technology and we really built our own experiences. And I think that gives you a great perspective, even now, thinking about online journeys and experiences when you understand how all the moving parts work. So I've always been kind of deep in e-commerce strategy or technology. But I also understand 20 years of the nuance here, the magic, and frankly, what not to change. And that's a big deal. And so our DNA forever and ever will be about human beings and relationships. And so even though you're shopping online, like funneling you into one of these one-to-one experiences with one of our advisors and then scaling all of that with digital innovation.
Yeah, to your point, knowing you don't need to fix what's not broken, right? In some cases, things are working well. You've talked about the growth trajectory, so not being overly meddlesome if you don't need to be, right?
That's right. And again, high passion industry. It's fun to be on the phone or on the internet talking about rock and roll. And so I think a lot of my background as a musician and really understanding our products well and our customers well. We think a lot about systems. My engineering background says if this is a good idea, a creative idea, even like we immediately think like, how do we turn this into a flywheel or scale it? And so a lot of our, my specific skill set is taking this very organic and very passionate industry and saying, how can we just turn this into value for customers and then sustain that value?
Yep. So I kind of have a two-part question for you, Mike. One, how would you kind of talk about as an online retail leader, how would you characterize the current e-commerce market? And you can look at that one from your specific category of musical instruments, and then also kind of on a broader perspective, just the overall e-commerce market from consumers and the trends that you're seeing. What are you guys tracking at Sweetwater?
Sure. So in our industry specifically, I would humbly tell you that we're seeing pretty strong demand. And I say that knowing that that's not true in all parts of retail. We've seen this before. The music industry tends to be a little more resilient, even in uncertain times. And then this is where our business model really shines, where we're investing in those relationships and really providing more value. It really pays off in these kind of times. I do see a little bit of a balance of power shifting towards retailers that are investing into content, into research, into product discovery. And I really think like over the next few years that the where you transact potentially becomes a little less interesting, but where you research and discover new products is where a lot of power lies. And then maybe finally, just as as consumers, I think we're all seeking value right now. So when I am spending, hard-earned money, where we purchase, I think we're looking for more value than ever.
Yeah, and the experience too. And you guys are kind of outstanding. You've leaned into that kind of the customer experience and treating the customer the right way. So it's kind of bringing that to the overall equation there in terms of value and experience. Based upon some of those trends that you just outlined, Mike, how does that impact or affect Sweetwater's approach when it comes to marketing to its customers and trying to gain, even growing the size of the pool in terms of speaking to people that might not yet be customers that might become customers in the future? Tell us a little bit about with some of that analytical understanding of the customer, how that impacts marketing and speaking to your customers.
Yeah, that's a great question. You just said it yourself. We Sweetwater has always invested in over the top customer experiences and adding a little bit more value than you maybe expected. And so things, as examples, things like our 2-year warranty that we give for free, tech support. If you need help setting up your gear after the purchase, we have a team of 60 people standing by ready to just help you work through the setup and any trouble you might have along the way. Free shipping. We do a really unique thing with guitars. We actually take them out of the box, any guitar over $399, and we put it through a 55-point inspection, and we're actually making adjustments and making that guitar sometimes even better than condition than it came out of the factory. And then we photograph it, high-res photos of every guitar, so you can compare them side by side and like literally choose the wood grain pattern that you like the best. So I'm naming all those off to say these are examples of, in response to customers looking for more value, we have a stack, and I would encourage, other retailers, think through your value stack and how you can meet customers there. And for us, it's a lot of companies have to kind of invent that brand story. We just have to pull back a curtain. And so for us, you ask about marketing, it's very much about storytelling, and it's about just making customers aware of the like true, sincere commitment that this company is making.
Just following up on that real quickly, Mike, in terms of, and you mentioned this previously, kind of thinking about it, not just from the lens of product only, but you've really leaned into content as well. Tell us maybe how that factors into what you're building at Sweetwater. This is, for so many, music is a passion, like you explained earlier. Tell us a little bit about how content factors into that, maybe even an example of some of the content you're producing at Sweetwater.
Of course. So an absolute pillar for this company from very early on. So Sweetwater.com goes live in 1994. So one of the very first websites on the internet, let alone this industry. And from day one, it's about educating. It is about content and not necessarily selling. And that could take the form of product reviews or tips and tricks or videos. And so we invest a tremendous amount to this day in both pre-sale content, helping you educate and understand every product and the full passion and emotion of that product, but also post-sale and tech support articles and quick start guides. And so that's all an investment we're making because it differentiates and it helps us kind of, we talk a lot about being the research destination in our industry. And that's not something you can just say to customers. You have to prove it. You have to sort of demonstrate that in sincere and tangible ways. And so that's been a huge investment we've made and will continue into the future.
So my final question for you, Mike, as we release this episode, we're just a few days away from Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the really big holiday sale days and ramping up of the holiday shopping season. Tell us what you're seeing or forecasting for Sweetwater, as well as kind of the industry as a whole. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts there in terms of holiday forecast.
Yeah, we go into the holidays with excitement. We do anticipate this uncertain economy will last into next year. Certainly some headwind from inflation and interest rates continuing. Now the school loan paybacks, and so we feel that like all retailers. And we think the competition will be strong, and I think in our industry we see a lot of discounting still from supply chain disruption. I think a lot of parts of retail are still feeling that. But ours is a passion-based industry. We've seen it be resilient through these kind of economies in the past. The pandemic was actually a great accelerator for us. 2.5 million new customers to file. These are musicians. This is, I always wanted to play guitar, bucket list kind of customer, or I re-engaged with a hobby or a passion from the past. And so for Sweetwater specifically, we're actually feeling still great signs of momentum and our customers staying engaged with making music. So our outlook for the holiday season is actually quite strong.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and kind of the speaks to the bright future that you have at Sweetwater, and kind of what you're doing to capitalize on that kind of demand that you're seeing for Sweetwater's products. So I want to take the opportunity to thank Mike Clem again, who is the CEO of Sweetwater, for joining us on this episode of Total Retail Talks. Thank you, Mike.
Hey, it was a lot of fun, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.